and we are online. Okay, so good evening, everyone. And today we have our second episode of the second season of our podcast, Afterwork Talks, BA Day Afterwork Talks. And today have really interesting speaker guest, Iurii. He is also a speaker at our BA Day conference, coming one. And today we will talk about not about some standard BA stuff, but more about conferences, personal brand, and why should we do it, and what can we get from all these things. But before we start with our talk today, let me again introduce, just remind you, I think most of you remember me. So I'm Oleksandr Moskalyuk, I'm host of this podcast. Rainer won't join us today, so we'll have half of the podcast with Rainer today together, and half I will be hosting by myself. And today I have a great guest again, Iurii. So he's founder of Passionate Business Analyst podcast and YouTube channel, and we will talk about all these things a little bit later today. Just before we go on to our main topic, I want to thank to our sponsors of the coming conference and current podcast. So it's Masventa, founder and organizer of the conference and the podcast. It's Deutsche Telekom. We are happy to have them on board as the main sponsor of the conference this year. And of course, IIBA, who's supporting us as well every conferences. So Iurii, conferences. It's about conference, everything about conference. What do you think about these such professional conferences?
I think that there's a lot of them, and that's great. But I wish there were more conferences, actually. At the moment, I'm doing my tour through all the conferences I can get to. I've been this year. I've been to all the online conferences, and for at least half of those offline. I didn't get to BBC because it's quite far from my location, and Australia the same, and South Africa. But maybe someday I'll get there as well. But I've been to IIBA UK offline this year, and I plan to visit Balkan Business Knowledge Conference and IIBA Poland Summit. So yeah, I think conference is great because, well, obviously I'm visiting a lot of them, and it's great thing to have, actually, because conferences are the professional gatherings where you can network and talk with all the industry experts, with aspiring BAs, with industry titans, and a lot of people who share a lot about business analysis. So that's good that they exist, actually.
Yeah, can't disagree with you, because I like conferences as well.
Good.
And and I think you are a great guest for this topic here, because you visited all these conferences.
Yeah, actually,
recent conferences,
it's
and you can tell us a lot about this. Yeah, go on.
oh, absolutely. Actually, yeah, since I moved to Europe, I thought that, okay, so now I'm here in the middle of everything that's happening, a lot of professional stuff. And last year I maybe people know, maybe they don't know, but I, as a part of contributing to community, I'm trying to share awareness about as many business analysis events I could, right? About conferences, podcasts, and YouTube channels, and all the other stuff, because I figured that not a lot of people actually know what's really happening outside their comfort zone, outside their community. Sometimes people stick to community within the company, for example, and they don't know about the great authors, great podcasters, thought leaders. So I've actually had this problem myself, sharing this with my team. And I thought that, well, probably the target audience that doesn't know anything about great people within the business analysis, great people like you, for example, sharing all this stuff with people as well. And I took this as my mission, and I took the motto, which is, it sounds like igniting passion for business analysis worldwide. That's what I basically do. And yeah, with that, promoting the conference is the first time I've actually went to offline conference in Europe was last year to London. And I had a great time at the conference. And then with that success for my Passionate Business Analyst blog, I started working with other conferences. And yeah, this year I'm trying to cover as many events as possible. And if I can do that, I'm trying to join online. And it's amazing how many events out there and how different they are actually.
Let's talk about these two types of conferences, offline conferences and online conferences. So what if you're talking about offline conferences, what do you prefer more? Why do you like? What type do you like more? Okay, it's interesting question. Yeah, and
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one actually. So basically, there are two different ideas probably behind those conference, right? When you do the one offline, it's accessible to a limited group, usually within the country or the city, which hosts the conference, and traveling is not always affordable. And there are different groups of people who can or cannot afford, and even just because of their job or maybe inability to travel for some reasons, those pieces of knowledge still are unavailable to them, right? But if you can go to the conference, you get a lot. You get knowledge, you get networking, you get connections with industry experts. You can see how accessible those people are, and that could be a separate topic for this conversation, actually. Because yeah, I have a case. Ask me later about that. Definitely, I will
okay,
tell you
sure.
a case. Yeah, and that's offline, right? You go there not so much for the knowledge. You get a lot of that stuff, but you go for networking, for those experiences you can get only offline, like connecting with people. Like when you sit face to face, it's very different than sitting online, right? We all know that. But at the same time, online conferences, they make knowledge accessible for everybody, basically. Most of the people in the world, they have internet, and if they don't have a chance to get into the event itself on the date and on the specific time, they can usually get records and they can use them and get all the same stuff aside of networking online experience and some other things. So it's great to have them as well. For example, I always wanted to join IIBA Day, and it always was quite far from me. I'm from Kharkiv. It's on the very east of Ukraine, and the journey is like 2,000 miles probably from that that city to the place where the IIBA was hosted originally, right? Offline. But when this conference became online, it became an opportunity for me to join and learn from the people who usually go there, and for a lot of people as well. So that's a great thing. Another thing is, for example, conference in Australia, Festival of Business Analysis. It's even further from me, right, than the Germany where I'm actually at the moment. But that's not the point. The point is that they have online and offline parts, and I can join online parts and speak there, share my knowledge with people from over there with that community, or speak at this conference and share it with this part European community. So I think it's great that we have both. They have different goals, different experiences, but I feel great that we have all of them, all these different kind of communication styles over there.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Because offline conferences, it's more about networking and connecting people and having some great time with peers, with people you understand, you can talk, discuss anything. Yeah. On the
Absolutely.
contrary, online conferences provide you a lot of opportunities to share your knowledge with people all around the world and get a lot of information from these people, share your experiences. and get to know people and some interesting things about different parts of business analysis in different countries, because context is very important in our and our profession, and having opportunity to get more about the context on different parts of the world from directly from professionals. It's very I don't know, important. So that's why, yeah, it was one of the reasons why we switched European BA Day to online conference, because this way we can share this knowledge from practical professionals to more people all over the world. And of course, for Ukrainians, it's also a great opportunity because not many of our business analyst professionals can travel now, but we can participate in the conference. We can get a lot of knowledge and yeah, and improve our professional skills. So yeah,
Absolutely, yes.
I found on your LinkedIn page this really interesting questions poll. So it's of course it's very little, really small number to be representative, but I think it got the idea that in most of the cases we are looking for two things here during the conference: knowledge and networking. And different types of conferences better for offline conference will be much better for networking, and of course online conference will be much better for knowledge. And
Yeah,
okay,
truly, truly.
we will talk about knowledge later. We will go to professional development. Let's talk about networking. So
Absolutely.
I know again from your LinkedIn page that you were a speaker at one of the conferences recently. What
Yeah.
can you tell about the conference and about people you met there?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. So it was my first, no, it wasn't my first time speaking offline. It was my second time speaking offline at the conference out in Europe. The first one was last year at Balkan Business Knowledge Conference. I've been sharing about how business analysts could build trust within teams and with clients. This year, I decided to speak from the point of view of hiring manager. I've been hiring manager for 6 years for business analyst positions, and I had a lot of cases when we had quite interesting results during the interviews, when we connected with people on very deep level, and we started thinking not we started talking not about their skills or the goal of the interview, but like it was a kind of meta talk right behind the actual talk. And it was interesting to know what people think about the questions I ask and how they respond. And I had an opportunity to speak to some of them after the interviews when they reached out to me. That they didn't get a job. Yeah, obviously, otherwise they reached me within the community, but they were interested on why those questions were asked. So I was inspired by that, and I shared some of the things why, for example, I ask interns specific things, why they're very different from what I ask from intermediate business analyst, and why, for example, senior interviews are not about skills, but more about soft skills and individuals that are coming to the interview and their ability to learn and other things. So yeah, I've shared that, and uh, it's difficult to say how the speech was accepted. I'm still waiting for the session review from the delegates. I've seen different faces, and some were skeptical, some were enlightened. So yeah, it's a great experience actually, and I feel how my delivery changed within this year, how it shifted into the better side. So I enjoyed giving this speech. I was a bit anxious about fitting all the information into 20 minutes because this talk was short. It's like an espresso talk and not a long one. But I feel like I could share more. And after the session, a couple of people approached and we had a cool discussion about how they established their BA community and BA interview process. And we had a great communication around that topic. I shared a couple more tips and tricks, and people actually went home with some kind of new information they wouldn't get elsewhere, because, well, not many people share about their managerial secrets. I'm not sharing any secrets that are NDA protected, of course. I'm sharing my own thoughts on what should be done and why. So I'm hopefully I'm not violating any kind of NDA. And that's actually a thing I wanted you to ask me about, people being accessible. Back at Beyond Beyond conference, I've been to Denmark, and one of the delegates approached me. We figured out that she is also from Ukraine, and she told me that I've been running around the room talking to people, and she was anxious to approach me because she thought every kind of YouTuber, blogger, author, and every kind of expert or people who are considered thought leaders in any way, they are unapproachable, inaccessible, they above the clouds and stuff. But she felt that she could approach me and have a talk. And we had actually a great talk. We missed one of the sessions, actually, talked about business analysis and stuff. And the other situation I encountered at this conference, but last year, the IRMK one, you all heard about Deborah Paul, I'm sure. If you don't know about Deborah Paul, go Google and fix your mistake about not knowing about her. But for me, it was like, she's an industry leader. She is industry titan. She's very experienced. She's amazing. And I was nervous about approaching, and I thought about different questions, what I could ask, what we could discuss, because it feels that if you are a much, it feels like they are super senior and you are very junior and aspiring be in comparison, right? And you always think what you could talk about to those people. They know everything, you know nothing. It's like imposter syndrome that starts playing out. But I found one of the topics I've been working on at that moment, competency and skill metrics. And I remember that in one of her books, she talked about the frameworks, how to build those competences, and I approached and shared a couple of thoughts with her on what to do, and she provided some cool ideas based on her book and based on her experience. And we had this conversation like this very easily, right? I just needed to approach. So that's great thing about conferences. All the people are accessible there, and they are there, and you can just approach, say hi. We've never met. I'm that person. I have a question if you don't mind. And it just works. Of course, there are some people that actually above the clouds. I had that experience as well. They were not from business analysis, but they were like a keynote speaker. It was funny and peculiar experience, but 99% of the time, 99.9% of the time, you can talk to almost everybody.
Yeah, agree. And it's conference is always great opportunity to meet somebody you can meet only during the conference, because you have a lot of people with the same thoughts, with the same field of work, and you can find a lot of interesting thoughts there as well.
Yeah.
What I want to ask you, you've been a speaker in last year. For last year, you've been you spoke at the conferences online and offline.
Yeah.
What is the difference from speaker point of view? What can you tell?
That's a brilliant question, actually. For me as a speaker, and I heard that from other people as well, it's about connection, right? So when you speak offline, you can see faces, you can see reactions, you can think of what you are doing wrong if you're doing something wrong, or maybe people are just confused and they don't understand the material, and you can react and adapt on the go, right? And it is also great to see their support. Actually, even this time, I've made a couple of jokes to break the ice, and it felt quite warm inside to see that, okay, people are accepting the information, they are reacting, they're here with you. It's like an opportunity to connect, right? When you're online, you are given a speech into the camera, actually, something like we have right now. But here's a lot of friends, so I feel absolutely great doing that right now. But when it's like an audience you don't know, there are no people you know, and sometimes you don't even know who is within the call with you, it feels like you are doing like the recording, right? And the emotions you get from speaking online are very different. But at the same time, you know that you can feel more freely. Like sometimes you don't need to wear a suit. Like I'm now not wearing a suit, or not wearing anything below the waist, but I am. Don't worry, I'm a good person. I'm not doing that for you. But the idea is that you can feel more freely when you deliver speech online. There are less things you need to do, like dress code, your how do you position in the shot, maybe. Um, you can get your own equipment here, right? And like I'm having a good camera, a good microphone. You should be hearing me fine. But sometimes on offline conference, you get crappy equipment, and you need to deal with that. But you can't do anything because it's like set equipment, and you can change it. So it's very different experience. Both are great in their own way. Both have like not so good parts of the experience.
Of course, yeah, as everything else. And okay, how do you deal with during offline conferences? We can have some issues with equipment. During online conference, you can have some issues with connection. So
Oh yeah.
how do you deal with these situations?
What I can do is to have a couple of devices with internet. For example, if I'm having a Wi-Fi connection and it just stops working, I can use my ports RJ45 to plug into the router directly. That's first step always. Then I have a couple of devices with mobile connections, usually from different telecommunication operators. It's usually mine and my partner's phone that I can use. But pretty much that's it about the internet, right? Sometimes you can switch off your video to continue delivery, maybe. Those are more severe actions that you need to do to keep delivering your session. But if it fails, of course, online people will be waiting for you, and offline as well, you won't be able to restart your session if something goes severely wrong, because there are timings, right? But at least online you can record your session later and share it with people. Not perfect way, but also how to solve the problem.
Yeah, and offline, of course, you can just try to deliver your session without some materials and just try to connect
Yeah,
with audience and go on in Q&A session, and yeah, and go on and help people to share your material, yeah, information.
that's true. And
Um,
actually, on in offline, there are some severe situations. And in my podcast, that I had Rainer Wendt as a guest this year, and we talked about value proposition and stuff. And he shared about the offline days of BAU conference, this one, and he told that they had a fire alarm during the plenary session, a very important one, and they couldn't do anything. It was quite a long alarm, fire alarm, and they just went outside and they continued on the fresh air, which was quite a good experience actually. So
yeah, yeah, always, yeah, you always can just find a good solution, yeah, in any situation. Okay, can you remember or recall your first speech at the conference?
wow, it was definitely an internal one. Yeah, it was internal community conference, and we made it. It was like 4 people speaking about different topics. Each was like 40 minutes long, I believe. I've given multiple speeches from that moment within the internal community within the company I worked for, and but speaking during the conference outside your community is very different. There people know you, but outside they don't know you. So I'd say that my first real experience talking to people outside my comfort zone was last year at Balkan Business Analysis Conference in Serbia in what is the city for? I forgot the city. Anyway, in the capital of Serbia. My bad, I'm bad at geography at the moment. And actually, it was a room full of people. They had one single track, and all the people were in the room, like 250 people, so a lot of them. And I was quite anxious, actually. I was wearing a shirt, which I'm not usually wearing, a suit, pants, and wow, yeah, it was quite hot in there, so everything was against me, and I think I almost puked. Sorry for those details, but I was so nervous. But when I got to the stage, everything just disappeared. All the bad stuff disappeared. I've just started delivering my speech, and it went, I would say, awesome. I fit the time. I told everything I wanted to tell, and it was quite smooth. And all the icebreakers I planned through the speech, they worked perfectly. So my first experience with a large audience offline worked pretty well, actually, for me. I had to spend like half an hour after that on fresh air to calm myself, because it was like really first professional speaking experience. But since then, this year was absolutely fine. I just needed to do that once. And of course, I had a
Yeah.
lot of online sessions, like last year at IIBA Day, for example, or Global Business Analysis Day. I had more experience after that speech. So obviously, I'm doing better this time.
So just finalizing this part about conferences, would you suggest people to try themselves as a speakers at the conferences? What do you
Oh,
think?
yes,
Is it?
absolutely. Yeah, they should. They should. It's really a scary experience. Yes, it's going out of your comfort zone. It's funny, actually. We are business analysts. We communicate a lot, right? We speak to people a lot. We engage our clients. We have a lot of stakeholders, and we prepare a lot for those meetings. And sometimes we do presentation like an hour long, 30 minutes long. It's pretty much the same, right? But it feels a bit different, because the presentation is usually not that fast paced thing. Yes, of course, you need to fit the timing, you need to tell everything you prepared, but it's different. There you sit usually in front of the audience of a couple of people, and they are very interested in what you are saying, because it's their business and they expect to get value. But at the conferences, the audience is a bit different. Some are skeptical, some came here because their bosses paid for this conference. There are cases like this as well, of course. And some don't know you, others know, and they expect stuff from you. So the audience is very different. Sometimes you get an audience of 20 people and you think, oh, why so not so that many people as expected came. Sometimes you get a audience of 200 people and you think, oh my God, if what happens if I fail here, right? But I think that everybody should try and do that. You should start with baby steps. You shouldn't go and try maybe and apply to the conference without any kind of experience. Try speaking within your company, try speaking at local events. Usually there are plenty of them. If there is no event in your city, maybe you can try and establish a community out there in your city and, try things out. And unfortunately, there are no conferences where you can just go and try. Uh, the conference specifically for aspiring BAs who want to learn how to speak, because a lot of conferences are commercial activities, right? And they want their speakers to be as good as possible. So they either invite well-established speakers or they prepare speakers a lot. There are different schemes out there. But yeah, if you try doing that on a smaller audience, on less significant events, like a couple of times, 10 times, 20 times, you get some experience, you can try, and you should try. A lot of conferences are accepting speakers without prior speaking experience, which is good. And Yeah, but you should definitely test your speech a lot of times before on smaller focus groups.
Yeah, I think as business analysis professionals, it can be really useful experience just being able to present your thoughts to audience. Because sometimes we often we have a small group of people talk. We are talking to small group of people, but sometimes we can do some workshops or some training sessions where you will be doing almost the same as during the conference. And
Yeah, yeah.
small advertisement. European BA Day next year. We're looking for speakers, so open for any suggestions. So if you want to try you as a speaker, just send us your thesis. What do you want to speak about? And of course, it should be in the topics connected to one of the topics of the conference, that are speed, value, and third one that you can read at the conference page. Anyway, there is a website, email, so send your in bio and the session, some short information about session to this email, or you can contact me or Sabine. Okay, let's switch to another part. Let's talk about professional brand development. On the one hand, it's always almost the same and as presenting, but on the other hand, it's slightly different. So why have you decided to create your personal brand and start promoting your personal brand?
Thank you for this question. Actually, I have kind of personal history behind that. So on the day one, when I thought about becoming a business analyst, I set myself a goal to speak at some conference to share my experience, because within myself, I always see this part that want to contribute to community and to share my knowledge. Of course, a lot of people doing that. It's not only me, there are like thousands of speakers out there doing the same, but my experience shows that even with so much effort, there is still a lot to do. So it was like kind of one of my personal, like not objectives, but maybe small missions within me to share with the community. And first, I started doing that in the local Ukrainian IT journal, online one. And I had this column called BA Digest. And I thought that, well, if Blackmetric doing BA Digest worldwide in English, I can do something similar to that in Ukraine. And niche was empty. Specifically, there were a lot of digests for different professions, but the BA was free. And I thought that I'm not ready to collect articles yet from people. So I started my thing. I started collecting the best from all of the internet. I was trying to solve the problem of a lot of knowledge out there on the internet. And from, for example, thousands of articles, which I read briefly or completely, it was really different for article, but from 1K articles monthly, only 10 to 20 appeared in my BA digest, because some of them were just fillers, some of them were written for the sake of SEO, for example. Some blogs, some educational providers write a lot of articles, but not always those articles like good in terms of educational knowledge and content you can get from that. There were some exceptionally great articles that were, it was clear that they're exceptional from the first look, so I read them as well, and it became moderately popular, I'd say, in Ukraine. People visited a lot and read a lot, and we had a couple of discussions, usually under each digest. And then in 2022, for reasons that should remain in secret, yeah, a little bit of mystery in this story, I decided to make my own personal brand. And I thought about what kind of business analyst am I? Because if you know business analysis, blogging a lot, you heard about optimistic business analyst, better business analyst, and there were a lot of kinds of business analysts. And I thought that my distinct quality is my passion for business analysis. Passion meaning I'm ready to dig and drive and do a lot of stuff, because there's a lot of inner motivation in discipline to do everything about business analysis. I'm always hungry about business analysis and knowledge. So that's how the name was born. And for my logo, it shows the first letter of passionate, P, but also it is a labyrinth. As business analysts, we need to find the value within what's around us and bring this value. And sometimes it feels like you need to walk different paths, try different ways to get into the core and find that value. Sometimes it's not too easy. So that's how my logo was born as well. And since then, I've been doing forest articles. Then when I was preparing for my CBAP, I was doing the BA glossary. I've been explaining each of the definition, each of the term from BA. I stopped on the letter C. I need to continue at some point. And later, it also transformed into YouTube channel, and I started doing video on business analysis. Because the business analysis on YouTube was very popular like 3-4 years ago. When the COVID hit, almost everybody, except me for some reason, started doing BA videos, and there's a lot of great channels because of that on business analysis on YouTube. But at this moment, not that many people are creating this kind of content. So I thought that, okay, there is another niche I can work with, and I started doing my videos. And I feel like I'm doing moderately well at the moment as for inspiring channel.
It's great. Would you agree with the statement that if you want to learn something, you should try to teach somebody this thing, or just do presentation about this?
Oh yes, absolutely. That's the greatest way to learn stuff. So first you get theory, then you try it on task, then you apply it in your job, and then as a final form you teach others, because all those 4 steps, they cover different aspects of learning, right? So when you get knowledge from any source, your brain works to soak that knowledge and structure it within your brain. But when you share that knowledge, it's easy to become lost in translation, but not in language-wise, but knowledge-wise, right? And as a business analyst, we are, of course, proficient in sharing and communicating. But even for us, sharing knowledge to be not only communicated, but learned is a very different way of doing things. So I'd say yes, you should do that definitely at some point.
Yeah, agree. Okay, switching from this web blog to video blog, what are pros and cons of video blogging? What can you say
Oh
from your
yeah,
experience?
that's one of my pain points. Well, probably one of the things that I don't like, it's when you look, for example, at the screen, you see amount of views on my latest video. And when you release another video and you see not that many views, it's frustrating, truly. But you know that it will become viewed more later. But actually, just to start doing something, you don't need to do a lot, right? Just to start your YouTube channel or your Instagram page or any kind of video sharing, you can just start doing that. You can invite your friend, another business analyst, and start talking about business analysis. And then you start gathering connections, and you become more popular. People start recognizing you, and then you start inviting guests and experts from industry. That's what one of my YouTube friends, John Wisner from UK, does. He has a podcast kind of channel, and he invites different people from different industries, and he just shares, okay guys, this is the list of topics I want to talk about. If you want to join, just drop me a message. He uses Zoom. He records the session, barely edits it, as far as I know, and just shoot it to YouTube. He does moderately well as well, because there's audience that wants to get knowledge from different experts, right? And he's doing the podcast kind of stuff. That's one way of doing things. There is something else that other people do. For example, what I do, I spend a lot of time for preparing each video, because it's like each video to be prepared separately takes from 8 to 16 hours to write scripts, to record video, to edit, to apply effects sometimes, or through the whole video. So it's rather high level of preparation, and it's aimed on very different audience, right? There's something in between, of course. There are different shades of this stuff, but you can do both ways. Anyway, you can do like low maintenance kind of thing, you can do high maintenance kind of thing, but I chose the high maintenance way because, well, that's what I do. I'm always a little extra.
I can't say that it's bad, side of you, but
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah. Okay, but if you're talking about some regular business analysis professionals, so people not wanting the people that don't want to become a famous of some person, but for some personal development or some professional development, would you recommend creating some videos, education videos, or it's more for anyway for self promotion? What do you think?
Let's put it like this. You should state the goal for yourself, right? So my goal is to make high quality content about business analysis. That's my goal. High quality in terms of production, in terms of what I share, and in terms of audience that should understood. Like, I'm trying to do the content that any kind of person would understand. A person from business analysis or outside business analysis, right? Because I think everybody is a business analyst, every person, if you even don't work as a business analyst or far from business analysis. As for example, every time you need to change something in your life, you go through the same business analysis steps and you do the same core concepts, right? You always have need, you always have stakeholders related to that need, you always perform some kind of change. For example, you're trying to lose some weight, for example. That's a change, right? From this way to this way. And you perform some actions, and there is a context to that change always. So it's also kind of business analysis, but in everyday things. So I'm trying to do that kind of content. But if you just want to share your idea or something that you thought of, you can shoot one video or 10 videos or whatever amount of videos you want. But the question is your goal, right? If you want to, for example, build your portfolio to be hired, maybe videos is not the best solution for you, right? If you wanted to get to a lot of people, sometimes it's not about the video itself, sometimes about promotion and marketing, right? So you need to become a very different specialist for that. Sometimes you can share your videos with your community, like if 200 people working within your company, 200 business analysts, it's quite easy to make one video per week. Like think about 10 topics, 100 topics of what you know, and record 1 minute video sharing very specific single thought with them. And why not? That's also a good thing. And for example, also you can go to LinkedIn and there are articles created by AI. Not all those articles are great, but from those articles you can get an idea on what to talk about, right? What you can share about from your experience. So in a nutshell, yeah, try doing that, absolutely. But you need to state a goal for yourself to define why you do that, and find a way which works for you.
Okay, so I have two questions. So first question, you have this experience
Oh,
producing a website, a blog. text block, let's call it this way, and video block.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
do you can you say, is there any difference in how people get information from these different types of information, of data? Let's call it
Are
this
those
way.
questions from people within the session?
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. Okay, cool. So yeah, there's difference actually between those two. When you read through the content, you choose your pace, your reading speed, and to read something, you need to get your inner motivation sometimes, right? We are living in the era when people are listening to things and watching to things. So reading sometimes is a problem. It's because the world changed, right? Sometimes we need to make an effort to read something. It's easier to listen or to watch. But when you do written articles and people consume that kind of information, it's important to think about structure. How do you make accents with bold, for example, or with lists? So it's kind of not only content, but also the presentation of the text. And reading to a lot of text means that you have this page with all the characters and you need to go through it. But you can do it with your own pace. You can search within the text for specific part, and that's more traditional kind of thing. But with videos, the problem is very different. Of course, you have the same problem of reaching the audience. It's very difficult to target the specific audience you want to reach. But also, the problem is within keeping this engagement, keeping attention of people watching the video. So, for example, if we talk about YouTube, there are different platforms. Most of the content you get on those platforms is not educational, right? People usually go for educational content, of course, to YouTube as well, but there are specialized platforms, there are courses, there are education providers where you go specifically for knowledge. And when you go for knowledge on YouTube, for example, this kind of educational content competes with much higher volume of non-educational content, right? There are videos about cats, videos about some people doing crazy stuff, movies, or other funny videos. And to reach people, you spend a lot of effort to them see your video on their homepage or whatever, and then click on it, right? So that's the first problem. And the second problem is to keep their attention in the first 30 seconds. If they don't like, and we're living in a consumeristic society, right? If you don't like, we just throw it away momentarily. And yeah, if people don't like your first 10 seconds, 5 seconds of what they're seeing, they're not watching your video, right? That's some of the problems I probably having at the moment with my two latest videos. So if people know that they getting the value from the very beginning, they might stick to the end or to the middle of sometime. But it's very different with articles. They can just search within the article and find what you need. So yeah, that's very different, very different kind of thing.
Okay. And second, okay, you have this experience of creating content and promoting
Yeah.
your videos, your blog, etc. Do you use this experience, these skills in your business analysis work as business analyst?
I
Does it help you
didn't have
this?
chance actually to use those skills, but basically I've got some marketing skills from my business analysis tasks at some point, and I used them. So it's backwards compatibility in this, if this makes sense, but not yet, not yet. But I
Can you?
think that at some point, if I'm gonna be making an educational content for some company, right, for internal needs, yes, absolutely.
Or
The
for team, for
production
example?
stuff, Yes, yes, yes. I won't be having a problem of reaching the audience, right? The biggest problem out there. But the production, the how I build the information, how I build the content, yes, of course, it's going to be very great help.
Can you say that you now understand the business better, the business part of business? Yeah, by promoting, but by being a businessman, little bit businessman as well, but by yourself, just trying to sell your personal brand.
Oh yes, absolutely. That's the skill that almost no one within the business analysis community possess the skill to sell. Actually, well, maybe a bit controversial, but let me put it this way: when we pitch some idea to the client, we could say that, okay, client, you should do this, but you can also have these two options. Whatever you choose, you'll get value, but there are some pros and cons for each of the options, but it's for you to decide, right? And the client takes their decision. And not a lot of business analysts are involved in making business decisions, and even less or maybe none of business analysts in classical sense of business analysts, IT business analysts, are involved in getting value from what they help to build, right? So they are more like consultants. They have their go, but they stop at this moment. As from the point of view, what I'm doing, I'm the person who gets the value from this, and of course, I feel every bump on the road, right? And of course, now I feel how it's difficult to promote, how it's difficult to shoot content, and I see things that I didn't see because I've actually calculated that to do content properly, you need to, if you're doing this solo, you need to possess skills from 30 different professions or something, right? The content creation is a huge niche, and not only production, but also marketing, right? And then analytics and a lot of stuff. So yeah, it's crazy different from business analysis in terms of what we do by creating specifications and identifying needs. I use a lot of skills actually in what I do. For example, I do SWOT analysis for every one of my videos, right? For every idea I'm pitching to myself, or how I build process of content creation. The business analysis also helps me a lot. And of course, my knowledge on how to research target audiences for products I've built also helps me in a way to understand what's my audience for the videos I create.
Yeah. And on the other side, you now can better understand the value and the need of your customers if they work with the same questions, same problems, and you can better understand the value you can provide with some options, yeah, during business analysis.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the business analysts and other professionals as a target audience, it's not the audience that you could find research on, right? So this probably, as far as I know, only IIBA does some kind of research on business analysts worldwide, but it doesn't provide me with specific knowledge on what kind of content create or how to deliver that content, right? If, for example, we work with business and we work, what kind of business we could take? Let's say we produce some kind of snacks, right? The target audience for snack food is heavily researched, and there are a lot of information you can find or buy about the consumers, and you can use that information. But business analysts, no, you wouldn't get a lot of information from that. So from this point of view, yes, looking for value, looking for what people want to see and get, it's a challenge.
Yeah. And it's a huge growth for your professional skills in this domain.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So You are on. You are first in the market, not first, but anyway, the market is just
Oh
growing
no, not the
and
first one. No.
yeah, creating, and you can get some good things being one who researched this, and get some advantages sometimes. Okay,
Maybe. Let's see.
yeah. Our podcast is we are coming to the end of the podcast, and let's talk about podcasts. Yeah, to know that you have not only blog but podcasts as well, but you don't have Rainer there
Yeah.
in the list, and it's
Oh,
you should
pity,
fix it.
pity. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I should fix that.
definitely.
Yeah, we have to have a conversation about value proposition. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, what is the difference between blogging and having the podcasts and having some
Okay,
interviews?
okay. So, all of that is content creation. Blogging is usually when you share something about yourself or a topic you like. That's in general blogging. But there are different content types I make, and probably that's the question, what's the difference. So topical videos are usually short ones, up to like 20 minutes. They cover a single idea very briefly. It's like a sort of micro presentation, right? You basically do the same that you do for conferences, but you share it with the larger audience potentially. So you prepare a topic, you uncover it completely, and you try to work on the single idea. Podcast, on the other hand, it's when you get information from some kind of an expert. There are different kind of podcasts. You can make an interview, for example, and it's going to be a one-way conversation, or or you could do like friendly conversation with a person when you just exchange ideas as equals. Sometimes you can do mm, kinds of podcasts, like for example Lex Friedman does. He doesn't use the single topic necessarily. There are a lot of things that he wants to ask about the specific person, because sometimes podcasts are about topics and sometimes podcasts are about people, and actually the latter group is usually more popular when you talk about people but not about the topic. So that's the podcast. And I also do, by the way, book reviews. I did one so far, but I have a couple more on the go, because not everybody know what are the great or bad books about business analysis or adjacent roles. And actually, a little spoiler, I'm planning to start another kind of content. It's a vlog, and I'm gonna share about the latest trip to the conference and my experience and what's within there. So, a little behind the curtains thing.
It's great. Yeah. So I just want to remind that we have recordings of our podcast as well, and you can visit not only Iurii's web page and YouTube channel, but also our um, YouTube channel, and listen to previous interviews with our speakers. And just finalizing our discussion, just want to remind you that Iurii will be speaking at our conference next year as a speaker. So don't forget to book your tickets, to book your place at the conference. And I think we covered all the topics I planned. So maybe some final thoughts, or maybe you have some questions to discuss.
Let's ask the audience.
Yeah.
I see some cameras popping up, so probably there are questions out there.
So I think Christiana, Dagmar, anything?
No, no question.
No?
Okay.
Okay.
So we are looking for the podcasts from you as well. And
Just a minute, we're trying to catch up. We recently did a presentation, and then the people said, "Can you come back because we have a few questions?" So we had to go back next month, and then
yeah.
so
Anyway,
we
you
got
can ask.
behind.
You can ask
We're
these
behind.
questions during the conference, yeah, Iurii, or just in LinkedIn. Yeah, I think he's reachable even online. Okay, so thank you very much for attending. Iurii, it was a really good conversation and very interesting one. So stay tuned for our next podcasts and see you at our conference next year.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.